What's up, guys? Happy New Year. Hope you all had a good New Year's Eve. We're back once again with another Cubase video. I thought we'd kind of pick up where we left off, but touch on another technique that we could try, which is working at a lower tempo and pitching up the break that we export later to try and emulate the process of pitching up the old school breaks that we used in Jungle, get it sounding a bit more jungly. So I've got the same preset that we were using. I've got two different versions here. This one is the original kit that's going to be summed in Groove Agent coming through this channel, and this one is one that I've already gone in and, like I showed you before, right click here, export mixer and effects to Cubase, and I've done a little bit of groundwork beforehand. I've hidden the channels that we're not using, and if we look at the settings that ported over, I created my own reverb send, cloning the reverb in Groove Agent using Revelation, which is, it seems like it's the one that's being used there. The tape saturation I've left on, which on all the buses, the hat, the overhead and the room, it has an auto gain feature which kind of limits the signal a little bit as well. So if we take that off, we've got a lot more headroom for drive and adding grit. So the idea here is to kind of dirt it up a little bit and add some character, but retain the live feel of the drums. The reason I like this preset is because it's very dry. There's no compression happening at all anywhere, not even on the master. There's very little reverb. You'll see how subtle the reverb is here if I solo it. Just sitting there in the background basically. So that's the one that's being summed in Cubase, and then this one here is the one that's the original that we'll use as a reference point. As you can see there, they're both pretty much identical. The only other thing that I had to do to replicate it was in the overhead channel, I had to add a stereo enhancer to reduce the width to 81, because that's what it was in Groove Agent. The tape saturations here are on all of these, like I said. We'll leave them on for now, but when we start adding some different distortion and stuff, maybe some compression or whatever, we'll take those off. So let's have a quick listen. I think what I'm going to do for the purposes of this is change the snare, because this snare on this preset has some horrible resonance around 1K. Right around here, these kind of spikes. If we switch to the other snare in the kit here, and then on the EQs, let's have a look. We'll back off the cut that was applied to that nasty frequency. Let's bring that up here. So we're going to have to change the EQ settings a bit now with this new snare. And the snare is also tuned a bit lower than the other one, so let's fix that first. You see this one's hitting A, and the other one A sharp. So to retain the feel, we'll have to pitch it up just a little. Okay, we're at A sharp now. So now that it's tuned, roughly, we'll have a look at the different layers and anything that was being done to back off that ringing. So let's have a look to make sure there's nothing else nasty we don't like here. This snare's definitely still got a little ringing around 1K, but it's not as bad at all. getting some weird kind of left and right separation here on the main snare fundamental. I'm going to center the main snare bus, but I think it's probably coming from the amount we're sending to the overheads, because that's quite loud in the mix here. Okay, you can see that's definitely tightened that up a little bit, just taking that off a bit. So let's maybe have a look at the envelopes now we change the snare as well. Now with the snare envelopes, I tend to back these way off and just dial in the attack with this hold first, how long I want the attack punch to be. Yeah, let's leave it quite open, because that's going to tighten up, like I said, as soon as we pitch this up anyway. Okay, let's maybe have a look at the kick bus then. Oh, actually, let's look at the snare bottom mic first. See, again, this is scooping out that frequency, which we may not want to do now. Maybe put a low pass, a high pass filter on this as well. Okay. Okay, so we can maybe try some compression to make things punchy. Let's have a look at the kicks. Kicks cut quite boomy. Let's see what's going on with it. Bring that shelf down a bit. There's kind of some plasticiness right here we want to. And then let's maybe adjust this from a shelf again to a low pass, a high pass, just to shave off the very bottoms. can maybe drive the NLS on the bus as well. I added these on but bypassed them, and it kind of emulates driving it into an analog desk. But the more we drive it, the less mono it gets, so we need to kind of keep it subtle. Kind of saturates it. Just adds about, 1 dB or something. That preset seems a bit nicer. Let's turn it on the snare as well. Give it a couple dB of drive there. And then let's see, just what the saturation's doing. I might back off this envelope shaper a little bit because, again, we don't want to add too much punch. See, this auto gain is pretty much limiting it to -2 dB here. So we could probably achieve similar results with a bit more drive on here and maybe some compression. Let's maybe try 1176. Add a little analog flavour with the compressor. Just tiniest little bit of gain reduction. Let's maybe have a look at the kick. We could maybe try the 160. Might add a little bit too much punch though. See, the tape saturation is doing a lot more on the kick bus. Let's have a listen. So let's try the 160. Pretty well known for adding punch to kick drums, this one. But again, we want to be quite subtle. Okay, yeah, let's add in a little punch, but not too much. Okay, let's maybe have a look at the hi-hat then. Again with the tape saturation, bringing out a lot of the lows. Lows and high mids. So we can maybe again turn this on. It's on the hat channel here. Saturate the hats a bit with it. Going to take out some of the lows here with frequency. Let's switch it from a shelf again to a high pass. Could do maybe a shallower slope there. Gain it up a little bit to make up for what we took out. So that's the main elements of our drums there. I mean, we're probably going to be using the one without the cowbell anyway when we pitch it up, so I think we're getting pretty close. We could maybe try some just EQ and compression on the drum bus now. I'm going to make sure that the reverb, yeah, the reverb needs to be sent to the kit mix for when we resample it. It also means that any compression we do here, and let's just turn on NLS bus for everything, just to add a bit of analogness. Maybe just, yeah, let's do it for the room and overheads as well. Just maybe give it, you know, 1.5 of drive on each one. It's very subtle, this thing. Even when you drive it quite hard, it can be quite subtle, but this will just add a little something. Okay, something like that will do. And then this is the bus version where you can do a bit more gain staging here and stuff. So yeah, that's pretty subtle. Let's put maybe some bus compression on there. Glue it all together a little bit, and let's maybe just have a look at some EQ on. We can then maybe drive the limiter at the end. Just make sure there's nothing too nasty in here. You know, this one sounds pretty good. Maybe we could just try something additive with a bit of flavor. I just got this one recently. It's supposed to be pretty good for additive EQ. Boost the high mids a bit as well. Definitely a lot duller before. You know, I think we're pretty close here. Maybe let's record this to pitch up. So, like I showed you in an earlier video, oh, actually, there's one more thing that I kind of want to try that is also quite new to me. This might grunge it up a little bit. Well, we can see how much we can push the limiter as well. Maybe just a touch there. And then let's see. Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to try. Got this other, supposed to emulate the warmth of vinyl. Let's take the crackle down, but maybe bring the noise down only by about, I don't know, minus 12 dB. I mean, yeah, that definitely adds some warmth and thickness. I quite like that actually for this purpose. It could add like a little noise and stuff to it. Okay, so like I showed you before, I've got an audio track here which I've hidden, which is got an input coming from the kit mix. So I'm going to take the transport back to 0. I've added like a little 1-bar block at the start and end of the MIDI here, and we're just going to record in real time, capture that whole clip, and then we can start pitching. And you know, we could have got it a lot better. Okay, sorry about the distorted mic there. I was talking over the recording. Anyway, so we're just going to basically go in here. I'm just going to cut off this little bit. If we drag this back now, solo this, we're going to probably be looking at taking this part here, get that loop in, and zoom in here. So this should be the second 8 bars of the clean bit without a ride or cowbell. Alright, cool. That'll do nicely. I'm just going to make sure that the sample start point is dead on. It'll do. We're just going to close out of this for a sec. I'm going to bounce this audio. Okay, so then if I switch to the sampler control down below, we're just going to drag that down to there, unmute this and mute this guy. So now we've got this on C3. It's going to be a bit quieter, the auditioning's a bit quieter in this sampler, but what we'll do to remedy that is, if I draw in an 8-bar loop here, going to draw in one long MIDI note on C3, which is the root note, and then we can start pitching it, and the way they would have done it back in the day, and it's going to vary really based on the root tempo, but they would have probably had like a metronome or something at their project tempo. So let's maybe go up to something a bit more jungly, like 160. Turn on our metronome, and as we play this, we're gonna mess with the pitch right here without using audio warp, because this kind of introduces some artifacts I don't like. So we're going to do it the old way and just kind of time it against the metronome. Okay, so we're pretty much there. And you could do it with audio warp, but you know, it just doesn't have the same effect. But honestly, this is pitching it up a little too much. What we're looking for, let's just go to the mix console here, go to span, on the stereo out, here we go. What we're looking for really is for the snare fundamental to have kind of pitched up from around 200 to 300, and I think it's probably gone way further. Actually, it's close, yeah. I mean, at this point, we would just want to start processing it again, processing it much more heavily this time and this is also going to get layered up with, you know, more of electronic kicks and snares and stuff. But that was typically how it would have been done, you know, back in the day. So, yeah, that's kind of another approach you can use with Groove Agent. And it's going to be, you know, this isn't really the best, this MIDI isn't really the best example to work with to show you this. If we'd have used one of the, something from the style player that was much more complex with like a lot of ghosting and just, you know, more going on with the hats and crashes and maybe like a louder room setting and everything on the mixer, you would probably get a better result doing this. This one's quite a dry kit, and it's you know, quite a basic already drum and bass style pattern, which is, you know, not really what you're looking for when you're sampling a funk break. So this is really just to kind of show you the principle of how you can still use this thing at a lower tempo, and then pitch up the loop to match, you know, like a jungle tempo later. To get something that's a bit more in line with what you're looking for. I mean, here the kick's hitting a bit too high. I mean, generally what I would do is usually get it to the pitch that I want, and then at a lower tempo, and then chop it up like I showed you before, and resample it into the beat agent. And then you've got, if you do it at a slightly lower tempo than you're going to work with, it's beneficial because you can tighten things up with envelopes. But if you pitch it too much, you can't dial it back without kind of adding reverb and stuff like that, and you know, it can sound a bit less natural. So I tend to try and, you know, maybe for instance, let's do this as an example. Let's maybe go to like 150. You know, 160 is probably about the slowest I would want to work with this. And we'll put the metronome back on, and we'll have to dial back the pitch a little bit in the sampler to maybe if we just go a full 5. So yeah, I mean, if you did it at a slower tempo, when you slice it up and resample it, you've got a little bit of wiggle room with the envelope of each drum hit. So you can always, and you know, if you don't pitch it quite so extreme, you can always pitch it a little bit more independently with each hit later in the beat agent. So yeah, guys, that's kind of how you can, you know, clean up a drum break in the acoustic agent, export it, and pitch it up to get it sounding a little bit more sample break 90s style. Alright, so yeah, next time we'll be resampling some of the loops we've exported in the past few videos, layering them up in the beat agent with some single hits, maybe looking at the percussion agent. So yeah, that's it for another video, guys. Once again, Happy New Year, and I hope this was you know, informative. Leave a comment, you know, like, smash that subscribe button. I'm going to be putting up, you know, a lot more content for Groove Agent and Halion, Cubase 10, a little bit of Wavelab content. So yeah, let me know if there's anything in particular you'd like to see done with, you know, relation to making D&B beats, or just, you know, making drums or bass lines or whatever it is, really. I'm still learning myself, but you know, I've picked up quite a lot of knowledge in Cubase over the years. I've been messing with it and know a few little handy tricks. So if there's anything in particular you want to know, you know, let me know. Alright, peace out, guys. That's it for another one. Peace.